Mr. Secretary, I want to thank you for your willingness to consider a program, and I know programs are always hard to even sort through when you've got a big agency like yours, but I had the privilege to get to know retired Marine Captain Carl David Hogsett, Jr., whose pen name is Silouan because he wrote a book about his PTSD experience. It is compelling, and in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana, he's very well known now among the veteran community because of the extraordinary depths of hell, so to speak, in his experience with PTSD and his recovery and what he went through. And he developed this entire program called The Ladder, and he speaks extensively now because he's an author, and many veterans have read his travails, his story, and his recovery. And I think that is important, that as we add money and address this issue, as comprehensive as it is, that we get real live veterans involved that have been through it, especially those that have dealt with it in the amazing way that he has dealt with it in terms of restoring his life to a very productive level, even though, as he told me, he was in a place where he did not want to be even in a lit room. He wanted to be in a totally dark room where he could just completely withdraw from the world for days at a time. It was that bad with PTSD. So this is compelling, and I've provided the materials and understand that your staff is really looking at it, because I think the more we can engage people like him and not assume that staffers, as competent as they are, or people that have not been there, can even fathom what these veterans are going through. And so I raise that issue with gratitude that you're considering his work and others like him that could make mighty contributions to addressing this problem, because this problem, as you and I talked earlier today, is not just combat-related incidents, but it's non-combat. He actually was involved in a training crash where he was successfully ejected, but the co-pilot was ejected into a pole, which completely dismembered his body as he watched. And these challenges are enormous. And even today, stories of females and sexual abuse and all the different contributions to PTSD. And I just want you to address what we're doing to make sure, first, with this fresh story, that females have full access to PTSD benefits as males, and that we also give attention to non-combat incidents as well as combat incidents with PTSD, because this is a very broad issue now. And again, thank you for your commitment to this, but this is one on the mental health side that we really have to get to the bottom of, because a lot of our veterans are in a really bad way when they come home with PTSD.
Well, Congressman Wamp, I think you've put your finger on one of these issues that are generational. I can go back and pull an article out of the 1940s and read about General Omar Bradley sitting at a testimony table like this as the Secretary of then what is today Veterans Affairs, talking about the same issue here without using PTSD. It was a different name, different issues, but the similarities are striking. I think this is a generational issue. I was down in University of Southern Florida and spoke to some of the young veterans, asked how many of them were combat veterans. Most of the hands went up. In the dialogue, I suggested to them that they were all carrying baggage, just like we all did. And there's a transition period that you have to go through, coming from that hyper-vigilant, high-precision, high-risk, a lot of threat environment, and work your way back down into what is the college campus we all know, college campuses we all know. One of the things we're doing is at the University of South Florida and Cleveland State and San Diego State as pilots is to put a vet success office there. It's a VA employee with voc rehab skills, and this office becomes the sort of the organization around which the veterans come in, and they get all kinds of assistance in linking in with the administration of the school. But on those tough days where they need more help, this is the conduit to get them into our VA hospital system, where mental health professionals wait to provide them the help, just the help they need to get them through those tough days or two so they can get back on their feet and do what we expect, and that is graduate out of that institution. I would just offer that in 2011, we have put in the mental health budget $5.2 billion. It's an 8.5% increase over the substantial monies we put in this big 2010 year. So we continue to see mental health, which includes the PTSD and TBI and depression and other things that result when treatment isn't provided properly early on to deal with some of these issues. In research, we have increased mental health research, specifically 15% from 2009 to 2011. Over this 2-year period, we're continuing to increase our investments in mental health research. We've also initiated a comprehensive study of Vietnam-era women's veterans to explore the long-term effects of service, military service, on mental as well as physical health. So this whole aspect of mental health is important to us, and we're reaching out in a number of ways. Your comment about PTSD not necessarily being dependent on combat activity is an appropriate one. I have a similar experience of a youngster coming out of Bosnia, which was not a combat situation, but exposed to some of the horrible circumstances that had to do with the mass executions there, and he was part of the security force once those mass graves were discovered, securing a crime scene, and lived with that image and in that environment, from smell to the physical aspects of it, for weeks, and there was impact. So very clearly, stress is the key word here, not combat. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, and the stress comes in many different experiences.
Just want to underscore in close